Hey, what's up guys? So this is the MiniLab 3 from Arturia, and I think this is the best MIDI controller you can get for about $100-ish. And over the 4th of July weekend, I was taking a look at all of the different sales that were going on, seeing if there was anything good to check out that wasn't expensive. And then that's when I landed across the MiniLab 3 from Arturia. Really, the first thing I saw was the Keylab Essentials that was just announced from Arturia, and in the cross-reference of their landing page, I found the MiniLab 3. What really drew me to the MiniLab 3 is the compact size. I love compact gear, mostly because I operate inside of a very small music production space within an apartment setting. And there was something about this specific MIDI controller that really drew me because it has pads. Now, if you look at any of the other videos on my channel, I use pretty much all Native Instruments controllers, and you may well know that none of the Native Instruments MIDI controllers have drum pads integrated into the keyboards. So this was something that was really attractive, seeing the 8 pads on this MIDI controller. And not only that, there's a keypad as well as 8 dedicated encoders, and then also faders to control your setup. To be honest, I think this is one of the best designs. Every inch of space on this MIDI controller has been used up for something useful. And what really made me make the decision was seeing the software integration with MiniLab 3 into Logic Pro, Ableton Live, Reason, Cubase, and I believe there's a few other DAWs, but when I saw the demos on Arturia's YouTube channel, being able to actually open and close plugins directly from this MIDI controller, and then having one-to-one encoder control with Ableton Live with the 8 dedicated encoders, and then a very smart usage of these mini faders. So I've had a couple days to really investigate the MiniLab 3, but I want to go about this a little bit organically and just tell you my thoughts on this really inexpensive but useful MIDI controller. Okay, so the first thing right off the bat is software integration. This is the only MIDI controller that I know has dedicated scripts for each of the main digital audio workstations, meaning you can control the transport functions as well as open and close plugins, go through the different tracks and change the different tracks with what you're on and how you're controlling that track and that instrument that's on the track. And I know that Native Instruments controllers do a little bit of this, but they don't have as much functionality as something as inexpensive and useful as the MiniLab 3. For instance, the Komplete Kontrol M32 does not open and close your plugins on your tracks within Logic Pro or any of the digital audio workstations. Whereas the MiniLab 3, you can actually use the main encoder here to open and close your individual plugins. Okay, so how this works is I've already installed the script that's dedicated for Logic Pro for the MiniLab 3. So using the Shift button here and the Prog pad, I can actually change the program for the MiniLab 3. So if I hold Shift and then tap Prog, you can see that now I'm on DAW. So now when I press the main encoder, it's going to open up the plugin I have on my first track, which is Arturia's Analog Lab V. And you'll see that it instantly opened up that plugin. Now this might be something that seems really small, but to me it's really big because I'm constantly jumping in and out of different plugins to take a look at the different parameters, my presets, and automate different things within individual plugins. This is something that none of Native Instruments keyboard controllers can do right now. For me, it's huge. So if I go ahead and click the main encoder again, it's going to close that plugin, and then I can use this main encoder to go through my different tracks. So if I go to my second track, you see I have Omnisphere here, and I can click to open Omnisphere as well. It's not just Arturia's plugins that this works with any of your plugins within Logic Pro. I can click the main encoder again to close Omnisphere, and then I can scroll down to my drum track on track 3. And that brings me to my next thing with the MiniLab 3 is that you have actual pads to drum out your different ideas with, and it's integrated right on such a compact keybed. Another thing that none of the Native Instruments controllers currently have is integrated drum pads on any of their keyboard controllers. In fact, if you want to get something from Native Instruments to make drum patterns within your digital audio workstation, you have to get something like the Machine Micro or the Machine MK3, and then use the dedicated editor controller software to change the different functionality of whatever machine product you have to control the drums within your digital audio workstation. In my experience, the controller editor software from Native Instruments isn't really easy to thumb through. I mean, it's kind of straightforward in a way, but it's just not a very good experience. And I like that right away I can use 2 different banks of pads on the MiniLab 3 to control drums and make up different drum patterns. So I love that there's drum pads integrated directly on the controller itself, and it's easy enough to just play something in. As far as the drum pads feel themselves, they're not the worst, but they're also not the best. Coming from my experience of using the Maschine MK3 and the Maschine Plus, they have excellent pad responsiveness and overall sensitivity across the entire pad. These are nothing really to compare to those products. Those products definitely win out by far. But because I don't have to go into an editor controller software like I do with the Maschine products, and it's just ready to go right off the bat, I have two banks that I can access just by pressing Shift and then Pad, and then you'll see that I have bank A and bank B. I can directly control different drum plugins, and I'm actually just using Logic Pro's built-in Drum Machine Designer. This is just the Beat Machine kit that I'm using right here, but because it's already set up and ready to go, I don't have to worry about anything. I can get to playing drums right away, right off the bat. So on pad A, these are all my different drum sounds. And then to get to the rest of the kit, I just press Shift and then pad again to get to bank B, and then I can trigger those different drum sounds. We'll just go back to bank A for now. So that's the drum pads, and I really highly recommend taking a look at the MIDI Control Center software where you can change the sensitivity for these different pads. So once you open it up and you make sure that it's on the right device, mine's on MiniLab 3, you can go to Device Settings, and then you have all these different controls for your MiniLab 3, and you can actually change like the velocity curve for the keyboard. You can change it to be linear, exponential, logarithmic, or fixed. And then you can do the same things for the pads. You can change them to be linear, exponential, logarithmic, or fixed. Same thing with the pads aftertouch. Okay, so that is the drum pads. So let's get out of Drum Machine Designer and go back to one of these other tracks. I'm just gonna scroll back up to Analog Lab V. And then clicking the main encoder, I can open up Analog Lab V, and I have the Pop Hyperwaves pack pulled up here for different presets. And because this is an Arturia product, of course, you can control Analog Lab V with the MiniLab 3. And to control Analog Lab, all you have to do is hold Shift and then Prog, which is Program, and go to Arturia. And then I can just use the main encoder to sift through the different presets for Pop Hyperwaves. And when I find one that I want to try out, I can just click the encoder. And this one's titled Bubblegum Mega Rave. It's kind of fun. And then if we want to try a different preset, just use the main encoder. And what is Freak Out? Let's try that one. That's weird. Let's jump back out here and try a different one. Let's try the Down Tempo Dreams bank. Now, if you don't have a sustain pedal hooked up to this, which you can definitely get to hook up to the MiniLab 3, you can press the hold button and you can treat it like a sustain pedal. I really like that feature. I love that with this key bed, it does feel quality, even though it's a very inexpensive MIDI controller. The key bed is really nice and has a nice response. In my experience, it's definitely better than the drum pads that are integrated into this little MIDI controller, and it's on par or even better than what I've experienced with Native Instruments' Komplete Kontrol M32. As you saw, there is dedicated octave up and octave down buttons. You can also change the modulation. As well as the pitch. I like this preset called DeLorean, and then if I wanted to engage the ARP function, which is built into the MiniLab 3, all I have to do is press Shift and then ARP, and now the ARP is on. And then to get to the ARP controls, all you have to do is press Shift and then hold the ARP pad. And now we're in the ARP controls. And if I engage hold and then just lay some notes down, you can change it. We can change the direction, so I just press down and then go through the different ones. I could change my mode. I like this one right here. And then I'll go to division. You can put some swing on it. Change the gate. Change the rate. The octave here. Okay, so getting back out to our main controls, we're going to go back to DAW. The last couple things I want to show you that I love about the MiniLab 3 is the dedicated transport controls that are super easy to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get out of Analog Lab right here by pressing the main encoder. And then taking a look at both the MiniLab 3 as well as my Logic Pro session, you see that with Shift and any of these buttons, I can control the stop, playback, record, and then it can also engage a loop function, or cycle is what it's called inside of Logic Pro. So if I hold Shift and then the cycle button, you'll see that my loop brace is now active. If I press Shift and play, it's going to start the playback. If I press Shift and record, it'll start recording. And then I can press stop. Now, one of the things I wish was on here, and I really feel like it could have been in place of this tap tempo button right here, is an undo button. That's one thing on the Komplete Kontrol M32 and all of Native Instruments controllers that is super useful that you don't find on the MiniLab 3. And for someone like me that's constantly exploring different patterns and coming up with things as I improv my playing performances, my MIDI performances, I'm constantly using an undo function and then retrying my attempt at a different idea. And not having that quick action button on this MIDI controller is definitely one of the main drawbacks for me and how I work within my digital audio workstation. Now, there may be a way with the MIDI Control Center to create a custom mapping for this tap function button. I'm actually not too sure about that, but I really wish there was a dedicated undo. It's a super simple thing, but very useful. Anyways, guys, that's pretty much it. That is an overview of my favorite things about the MiniLab 3 from Arturia. I'll leave an Amazon link below if it's something that you're interested in checking out. This is definitely my favorite entry-level MIDI controller that is currently out on the market, with a software integration, the ability to open and close my plugins directly on my track with dedicated scripts for all the major digital audio workstations, the integrated drum pads to drum out drum patterns directly on this MIDI controller, the one-to-one encoders, transport controls, and then the new faders that they've added to the MiniLab 3 make this a really useful compact MIDI controller for any digital audio workstation that you're using. Not to mention, it's only like $109 right now, and at $109 it really is a steal because they've packed so much into such a small portable form factor. Anyways, I plan on making more videos as I go along and get more used to the MiniLab 3 and use it some more, so stay tuned for that, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.